Hey, YouTube, MusicMan1310 here, and I want to talk about something that has been coming up a lot lately. And well, I wouldn't be saying lately because it's been happening for years to come now. And I want to talk about toxic players. Now, these toxic players are pretty much the people that can make or break a game for a lot of the newer players to come. Now, if you don't know what a toxic player is, then you probably haven't been playing a lot of online games. But pretty much what a toxic player is that those are the type of people that claim to be the best of the best and pretty much downgrades everybody else because of it. Because they believe that they're the best, everybody else sucks, so there's no reason for them to be on the team. Well, I want to talk about how to deal with these toxic players. The most obvious thing that you can do is you can just simply ignore them. Like, you don't have to listen to what they say. If they're pretty much bashing you for being such a bad player, for being such a noob when you're trying your best, just don't put up with it because they're probably no better either. A lot of these toxic players, they think that they can perform like the pros, really. Now, I get this a lot in League of Legends, and I'm seeing it happen in Call of Duty a lot. So what I'm seeing is that there's a trend with a lot of these toxic players, and that they think that they're pros, when in reality they're really bad players. And by bad players, I mean they're reverse boosters. They're what else do you want to say? Their win-loss ratio is pretty much the worst because they rage quit a lot because they don't know how to take a loss. These are the type of players that say that they've won a lot of games when in reality they've only won the games that they stayed throughout the whole trip, and they claim to be pro players when in reality they don't know half of the things that they're talking about when it comes to the game or even in esports in general. So how do you deal with these people? First things first, just straight up ignore them. And if they're talking to you, then keep in mind that you don't have to answer back. But what I tend to do is I tend to make fun of them while making fun with them. If you don't know how that kind of works, let me explain it. In League of Legends, I play a champion called Gnar. Now, I am not claiming to be the best in League of Legends. I'm claiming the opposite. I am probably one of the worst players that you could probably ever meet. But I play the game because it's fun for me. I like to play the game. I like how the mechanics work. Now, I've been playing with a player that said that he hates me because I'm a noob. But really what I just tell him in the chat was, oh, I hate you too. But I kind of say it in a voice where it's like, I don't care what your feelings are for me. You hate me? Fine. I'm not going to stop playing. That's how I approach a toxic player. They need to know that, okay, do you think that I'm doing things wrong? Well, why don't you teach me? Really, it's not really that hard. But at the same time, it's like these toxic players, I don't want them to teach me because they're really the gloaters, and I personally don't like gloating. I think that if you gloat for skills that you claim to have, but in reality you don't, then you're pretty much a bad example for the community. I'm trying to think of the right word so I don't sound offensive, but if I have to, then I pretty much will be offensive. So if anybody takes offense to this, or if anybody believes that I'm just being a joke, then please feel free to leave the video because I don't want any toxicity on my channel, or at least too much toxicity. Because here's the thing. I consider toxic players to be haters. Now, whether or not they hate the game, they hate the player, that's really all up to them. But overall, a lot of toxic players are haters. Now, I mentioned before what I think about the haters. Now, to me, it's like a lot of them still like humor me because it's like you don't know half the things that you're talking about. But again, it still bugs me to understand why they play something that they say time and time again that they hate because this, and this. When in reality, it's like, okay, if you don't like something, then just don't play it. As simple as that. But that's just something that I'm never going to learn. So, again, one thing that you can do for toxic players instead of having to ignore them, because the one thing that I don't want you to do is think that because I said you have to ignore them that you should ignore them, because sometimes they are trying to be helpful, but it may seem that they're toxic. One thing that you can do is ask for a clarification on what they can do better, what you can do better, because sometimes they just want to help. I mean, not all toxic players are bad, because let's go back to League of Legends. I have a friend who plays League of Legends, and he's a platinum level. Now, he is beyond toxic. He likes to troll around a lot, but to him, it's fun, and I get his sense of humor. To some other people that may not know him, that could be really bad experiences, but at the same time, it's like, yes, toxic players find fun in making people seem, or at least think, really lowly of themselves. So they tend to use that as their advantage for their sense of humor. Now, this guy, I know him for a long time, actually, like a few years, and as a person, he is not bad at all. He's only a toxic player in League of Legends because he's been playing the game for that long, and for him, it kind of gives him some credibility, I guess, for being a toxic player, but it still doesn't justify it. You know, a lot of the toxic players that I'm talking about are more within my league. For instance, in League of Legends, I'm a bronze player. I haven't finished my ranked placement, but let's face it, I'm a bronze player. If you look at all of my match histories, I go negative every single time. Even if I have double digits in kills, I have a negative KDR in general. This is bad for a League of Legends player. You're not supposed to have a negative KDR, but I do more often than not. But at the same time, I'm not claiming to be a good League of Legends player. So what I get is that I get a lot of hate because I'm feeding, I don't know what I'm doing, and blah 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 blah. When in reality, it's like, okay, I'm not claiming to be a good player anyways. If you were a good player, you would be in the higher tiers, not with me, because I suck at the game. In Call of Duty, I would say I'm the opposite, but I don't want to think myself as the opposite, simply because I don't do a lot of talking to my teammates except the people that I party with. And with that, it's like, I consider myself a good Call of Duty player. Well, in layman's term, I'm average. I wouldn't consider myself that good, but I'm average, but average good. Not like average bad or average neutral. I consider myself a good player because I do consider KDR, but I consider what I do in game more than what I do as far as stats. Because let's face it, I'm not a Slayer. I've actually been called out on one of my streams to be a noob because I'm not a Slayer, and I told him that I'm not a Slayer. I'm an objective player. I'm a supporter. I'm anything but a Slayer. But he still insisted that I was a noob because I was into Slayer. Well, okay, I'm not a Slayer. Big whoop. I know, I talked about how a Slayer is the most versatile role of the team in my Roles of a Pro Team series, but at the same time, my best suit is not being a Slayer. It's being a supporter. It's being an objective player. Because, again, I am better with map awareness and meeting the objective than I am with going around killing people, making it easier for my team. So how do I deal with something like that? Eventually I just shut him out after explaining that I am not a Slayer. I'm just a supporter. I'm an objective player because I've been keeping track of a lot of my stats recently, and I do play a lot more objectively than I do as far as KDR. So would that make me a good player? I would think so. I think that I might not be the best Slayer in the game, but I'm definitely good at being the supporter. I'm definitely good at being the objective player. So, in a sense, I am good. In a sense, I'm not. Now, what does that mean if I were to be in a team? Well, right now, as far as teaming, I've been doing duos. I've been in a team actually before for the ranked playlist, and currently I'm in the gold league. I am one of the better players. I'm working to get masters and hopefully grandmasters, but for now I'm gold. That's good enough for me. If I can improve, then I will. You can bet your butt that I can improve. But really, I don't consider myself a toxic player. Why? Because I ignore most of them. I ignore most of them, or I make fun of them while making fun, with them. That's all that I have to say, other than just a recap of, if you don't want to deal with toxic players, ignore them. They're not worth your time. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more. I do have a Twitter, it'll be in the description below. MusicMan1310, signing out. Peace.